Good morning. Good morning. Hi, Anna. Good morning. Oops. I'm not sure if I lost Anna or I lost myself.
Hello, good morning.
There you go. There you go. Hi, Anna. Good morning. We're waiting for Kate to come in today and
Mm.
she'll let us know if she's ready. Anna, I miss you online. You've been gone for a bit. How is everything?
Well, thank you for Paul and thank you everyone. Well, my in-laws came in and I really want, I haven't seen them for 9 years. And sometimes life gets in the way, so I do a lot of things aside from accommodating my parents-in-law for their vacation. My daughter graduated from her middle school.
That's
Time
con-
flies. Time flies.
eh,
Go for nurse school.
congratulations. She has a lot of awards.
Oh yes, yes. Those are unexpected. I know she worked hard, but she never said anything. So when we
Mm-hmm.
were there, I almost want to cry, but then I remember my makeup. So I meant, hey,
No,
Kay.
it's not waterproof. Hi, Kay.
Good morning,
Yes,
Anna.
why
Good
not?
morning, Paul. Welcome, everyone. Good evening,
We
good
are back.
afternoon.
We are back in full force again, aren't we?
Three of us.
Yay! Yes.
Three of us.
Well, welcome
Finally.
everyone to whoever's watching our episode 38 about different job classifications. This
Already
is a
Mm-hmm.
eight
very good
already?
chat. I know, right? Time flies when you're
Yep,
having fun.
correct. Let me just officially welcome everybody. Welcome everyone to episode 38 of DNP Unlocked. And today we're going to talk about different job classifications. And also today we are complete attendance. All your three hosts are in today. But it's nice to see you guys. Last week we were not able to do shows. Your
Mm-hmm.
hosts are also full time nurses. We all have our day jobs, and of course, weekends are usually family time as well. But we're happy that we're online again today because we miss you, our dear followers.
True.
And
Yeah.
before we start, guys, I want to plug our DMP Unlocked is available in podcast, Apple Podcasts,
Yay.
Amazon, Spotify, YouTube
Awesome.
Music, everywhere, right? So all you gotta do is go to whatever podcast app you have and look for DNP Unlocked. All 37 episodes are there. And we have good viewership, guys. So thank you for all those that are following, and I
Mm-hmm.
hope we are able to impart a lot of stuff to you. For those who have not followed us yet, go download this in podcast now so you can listen to us everywhere you go. DMP Unlocked is a great resource for
Mm-hmm.
nurses that are new here in the US or are planning to come over here in the future. We're doing this for free for you guys because, we went through what you guys are going through right now. And we hope that during our time there was a resource like this. But here we
Oh
are
yeah.
talking about stuff that you guys need to know, all the expert tips from your expert hosts, Nurse Anna, Travel Nurse Hacker K, and Dr. Nurse Paul.
Yay. So while waiting for our viewers, we would like to welcome. We have someone from Jamaica. Hi, Arlene.
Hi, Arlene. She's one of our avid followers. Thank you, Arlene, for always
Yeah.
joining our show.
So how's everyone doing for summer? The corner
Uh,
full. How's your summer
uh,
in you?
uh, our summer was fun. We didn't have power for 4 days last week under a
Oh no.
scorching 105, 110 degree weather. So feels I'm back in the Philippines. No, but no plans for summer yet. I'm just busy working and all that. Spending time with puppies, spending time with family during my day off. I know Kay has been on a lot of trips recently. She was on the
I
lake, the
know.
other show.
Yes, summer is a very important thing for us because we work too hard over the years. So this is the only time
True.
that we have get the time to spend with the kids, but
Mhm.
they're enjoying themselves too in the summer. We don't want to be like, hey, pestering them at parents' time. So it's a good time for all of us. Yeah.
How about you, Anna?
Uh,
How's your summer so far? I know you have a
Well,
family trip
I
recently.
will I will never ever complain every winter here the corner fallen play. So we've been having a lot of high temperature like 95. And I was complaining. I was like, I came from the Philippines. I'm supposed to be used to this kind of weather, but no, it was scorching hot. They've been issuing a lot of weather warning, and I can't even walk with my Pomeranians because I'm scared that they might have a heat stroke and their paws
Correct.
will get burned. So it's so hot here. Like I don't know the aircon. I think my electric bill will be up this month.
Oh
But
my
yes,
God.
my in-law, I'm from California. 3 weeks ago, I
Uh-huh.
haven't been there for 9 years. We spent a good time with, in New York City. They've been very excited and happy. And I mentioned to my daughter, I'm gonna have a high school this coming September. I can't believe it because when we arrived 9 years ago, my daughter was only 4 years old. Now she's
Right. Right.
14. What
Wow.
happened?
That's 10 years in a blink of an eye.
Oh yeah.
and
Kate
uh,
can relate.
Yeah. I the thing here is what we do in DNP Unlock makes our life faster because we do it in every
Mm-hmm.
week to educate a lot of our
mm,
international workforce. So this is on top of that, kind of like stream pushes the schedule off like faster
Mm-hmm.
than it should be because again when you're having fun it's just quick quick quick.
Correct.
You just don't realize how far we are already with this program that we have shared for our
Oh
international
yeah.
nurses. Yeah. So without further ado, let's go to the main topic that we have to
Yeah.
discuss today.
yep.
Um,
Why
yeah.
do we need
So
to talk about different job classifications, Kay and Anna? First and foremost, like, because it's confusing when you come here to the States or you're from full time and you're doing now travel
Mm-hmm.
jobs and all that. You see
yeah.
all those W-2s and 1099s and FTEs and exempt and non-exempt. It's a word salad, right? Why do we need
Oh
to know
yeah.
this?
Yes.
Definitely a word salad. Mm-hmm.
So a lot of our international nurses, the first thing that they get from employers after being picked as the talent to be hired is they call it the job offer or the
Mm-hmm.
contract. This job offers and contract contains a lot of legal jargons that a lot of our international nurses are not familiar. Even though they're not legal jargon, sometimes are regular words for job offer here in the US, but it's just very US specific that it's not used in other places.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that we have to look into that is the W-2 or 1099.
Mm-hmm.
The other term that's being used is the exempt versus exempt, non-exempt, right? So those are a lot of words that are very, I would say, present in every job offer that listeners do not understand. So it's
Mm-hmm.
very important that we need to discuss these words because if you don't follow what's in your job offer, then you can have issues, misrepresentation or fraud, or you're being tricked on if you don't pay attention to those things. Okay, so we can start with the W-2 and the 1099. We know we there's a big difference about it,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's a business owner, Paul. Can you
Yeah.
share what do you think about the salary? Who should have higher salary, the W-2 or the 1099?
Yeah. Probably put 1099. You're on mute.
Look around, everybody. I'll mute. I'm sorry, that's Beyonce. But anyway, I'm sorry. I was talking in the background. I didn't know I was mute. But anyway, I think 1099 should have higher salary. Okay. Recently, I like to check the market every now and then for if the rates are increasing. It means I always check job boards, even if I'm happy with my full time job currently. And that's not because I wanted a new job. It's just me checking the market, right? There's a lot of 1099 offers for NPs, right? Because they have locums as well, kind of like travel nursing. But
Mm-hmm.
my hard rule is if I'm gonna do 1099, at least 1.5 times my hourly rate currently or more, because you're gonna explain why. But for me, 1099 should be paid more.
Oh, thank you. So just to give an idea, what is a W-2? So and 1099. So this is not really a specific person, but when you say
Mm-hmm.
W-2, it's the form, it's an
Mhm.
IRS form that we
Mhm.
sign. right? Again, W2 is I'm not resigned. The W2 is the income tax that is being given to us by our employer to show the taxes that we have paid. You don't receive this before you start. Okay, you receive it at the end of the year when you're about to file your taxes, and you get this from your employer. But how will you identify that you are being treated as a W2 income earner? There is a form that you will sign before you start your job. Okay, so there's two
Mhm.
things. There's two tax forms that you will see at the beginning of the job and at the end of the job. The beginning of the job, there is a thing called W4. W4 is a payroll tax form that you will sign. Okay, so if you create a W4 form at the end of the year, it's expected that you will actually be receiving a W2 income, correct?
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
so just to give you an idea, what is W4, right? So can you guys see my window?
It's coming up.
Okay. So this is a tax form that everybody who is a W2 income earner should be filling up at the beginning of the employment terms, okay? You can change this anytime if there will be changes. So again, this is called employees withholding certificate. This is the form that you will fill up when you start your job. So at the end of the year, you will be receiving a W2 form, which is like this. Okay, so let's image PDF, right? So you guys can look at that. This is a IRS form. Oh, sorry. What did I do now? W2. Okay. So again, go to the Google and you will see a W2 very similar to this image here. It's like a little form on the right side that will say W2. All right.
Mhm.
So that's a difference. But when you say 1099, okay, so this is when you go here. Um, it's called W9. Okay, you will fill this up. Sorry, I can fill it up, make it bigger. Okay. So this is W9. When you create a W9 at the beginning of the year, you will receive a 1099 form. Again, it's like, you plant an apple seed, it will grow an apple. If you
Mhm.
plant an orange seed, it will grow an orange. So if you
Mhm.
plant a, a W4, it will grow a W2 later on. If you plant a W9, then it will grow a 1099 form at the end of the year.
Mhm.
So again,
Mhm.
there's two tax form. That's a big difference. You will identify yourself that you're being treated as 1099 if you receive this 1099. I mean W9 form. Okay? So because now this is very important. And why is this important? We have a lot of nurses that have been responding to us that they are being told that they're 1099 after arrival in the
Mhm.
United States. Okay,
Mhm.
and if you look at the contract, what does it say there? Does it say you're an employee of our company, or are you going to be a vendor of our company or this hospital? In your
So,
observation.
in my observation, I've always seen in my contract, I'm employee of the company.
Right?
During my first contract when I arrived in the Philippines, but when I started doing traveling for 5 years, I was classified. I think I was one a vendor. So I asked, "What is a vendor?" I'm not a vendor, and they were like, "Oh, you're a traveling. We call it vendor."
Yes, so there are important things that you have to remember. This is like a state issued.
Mhm.
Well, first your federal level. You look at your ETA
Mhm.
9089, right? If he says there that you are employee with this wages and you have an employer there, that's automatically that you are an employee. Okay,
Mhm.
if in your ETA 9089 there is a sponsoring employer, then that means that you should be an employee. And I
Yeah.
believe that there's no such thing as EB3 sponsored vendor, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's the
Right.
first thing. There's no such thing as that. But there
Yeah.
is always an EB3 sponsored
Mhm.
employee. there's always an H-1B sponsored employee.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're an employee. If you look at your contract, the way to cross check that is you're going to look at your contract, and it says here that this registered nurse is being hired as an employee of this
Mm-hmm.
hospital, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or this facility or this company. So that's
I,
the two things that you will have to pay
yeah.
attention is the form and the contract was written.
I think that nurses should always highlight. I know I am always saying I'm an old school type. Whenever you receive your contract, be it traveling or a contract from an agency, read every single word of it, highlight it, and if
Mm-hmm.
you have extra money, ask for a lawyer to explain it to you. I mean, I rather spend
Right.
money now than suffer later, like the corners are always
Mm-hmm.
saying, because
Mm-hmm.
these terms are very complicated, and we're not from USA. You might be from Jamaica, Thailand, or Philippines, and do
Yes.
not just say yes because
Yeah.
you're so desperate here. So what we're
Especially,
trying
yeah,
to, mm-hmm,
yeah, especially if
yes,
they're giving you like a very, very strict timeline. You have to sign within
mm-hmm.
3 days. We're gonna rescind the
24
offer.
hours, 24
Yeah,
hours.
yeah, you have 24 hours to decide. No, I need more than 24 hours. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there's a big difference with number one, there's a big difference with the form, okay, that you're gonna sign
Mm,
the tax form. Number two, there's a big difference when you look at your ETA 9089, that's your immigration documents. You will see there who your employer is. Okay. So you're
mhm.
not your own employer. A 1099 income earner is an employer themselves. Okay. That's an employer themselves. Um there is a thing called what's the difference when it comes to taxation? Paul, as a 1099 income earner, what's the difference when it comes to the amount of being removed from your paycheck?
Well, I'm not doing 1099 right now. I'm full time, but with 1099, you're responsible for everything. Okay. Most prominently your taxes. You know, when we pay taxes, K, as W2, we only pay like 6.25% or something like that, right? I may be wrong,
Mm-hmm.
but that's because half of the tax percentage you pay, something like that, and the other half is paid by the employer, and that also includes your Medicare taxes, Social Security taxes. Those are the FICA taxes, so three, right? Federal, Medicare, and Social Security.
Mm-hmm.
um 50% to you, 50% to the employer. But if you do 1099, you're responsible for all, so you're gonna pay like what, 12.5% k or something.
It's
um
around, yeah, 15%. It's around going
15%,
to be
12 to
here.
50%. So if you imagine that, k, automatically around 15% of your gross goes to FICA, versus if you're W2, which is
Mm-hmm.
around 6-7%, half of it, because the other half is sponsored by employer. Remember, when you're 1099, you're not employed by the company. You are an
Mm-hmm.
independent contractor. And K, for me, like working as an NP, it also gets a little murky because now I don't have workers' comp, right? I have to clarify, some
Mm-hmm.
1099s offer you workers' comp, like, which means if I break my ankle at work because I'm trying to run to help a patient, right? Nobody's gonna pay for that broken ankle, right? But when I'm W2, the facility is responsible for me if I get injured during the job. They will pay for everything. And then we're also talking about malpractice insurance, because as a
Mm-hmm.
provider, I have to be covered by malpractice insurance. When I'm W2, my employer offers that built into the contract. You can always get your own, and it's always best to have your own, right? But with 1099, I have zero liability insurance, which means it is required that before I sign a 1099, I have that. And that's not only for our NPs. Our ends should also have that. So you need to cover all of those. And then you're also talking about your insurances, because there's
Mm-hmm.
no benefits with 1099.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. I can show you a little screen here because
Mm-hmm.
a lot of our, a lot of employers will always say, "Oh, do 1099 because this is you're gonna bring you home more income."
Yeah.
A lot of
And you
them are
can use
saying that.
Yes, a
Yeah,
lot of them are using it like, oh, you're gonna have more benefits when you file your taxes.
yeah.
We're
So
Mhm.
you
gonna
can
like,
see here. Yeah, exactly, Anna. They will like, oh, your paycheck is higher. Sorry.
Mhm.
Um, so an example in here, a person who is being offered like 1099 or W-2 income. Example here is a chart that it says, okay, 1099 you can see is bigger. Okay, like Paul and Anna, we were discussing this at the beginning. Who should be receiving
Mhm.
bigger? A 1099, sure, should be receiving bigger income, primarily because if you see the social security and the self-employment taxes, the self-employed will have to pay bigger fees. Okay, and that's where Paul was mentioning the FICA, the social security, um, because as a W-2 income, you should be paying only half of that, 15%.
mm-hmm,
But if you're a 1099 income earner, then you should be paying all of it. All right. So what happens there when your employer suddenly changed your employment status and did not adjust your income, right? If you're arriving
Mhm.
here and it says the contract says you should be receiving $35 an hour, but then after arriving they change your contract and you're still receiving $35 an hour. Well, you then your boss is technically giving you the responsibility of the taxation that he should be paying. Another important factor you will see is the after tax income might be bigger um, here on this graph, but again, the difference is around 3,000. All right, the after tax income. But when you look at the gross income, that person should have been paid 7,000 more.
mm-hmm,
Mhm.
Okay, but if you are not being paid 7,000 more, what will happen to this is this nurse will be paid less than a W-2 income. Okay,
Right.
and not only that, you're going to be paying also your health insurance, your like your Paul said, your malpractice insurance. And as a single person, sometimes at this rate, I don't know how much is in your area, but here in around New York metro, well, the insurance of a person with a family of four can, if you're getting it on your own, and can be as high as 16,000 a year, 15,000 a year for a family of four. So imagine reducing this amount of money all the way down to around that money. So you're technically being paid like around $65,000, which is way different than this. All right.
mm-hmm.
So
Right.
Oh
just to
yes.
give you a rough idea on that, what happens when your boss or your employer suddenly change you to 1099 after arrival in the United States? You are being robbed off. And the thing is,
Mm-hmm,
there's a thing called prevailing wage in your ETA 9089. And this is how you get approved to come to the United States. If your boss promised you in your ETA 99 that, hey, you should be receiving 77,000 per annum, but in reality you're receiving only around 65, well, that is a big problem
Yeah.
because there is a violation of that prevailing wage which your employer
mm-hmm,
promised the immigration. So this is something that nurses really have to pay attention. If your boss
Yeah.
changes, you shouldn't be agreeing to that at all
Yeah.
right
And
away. That's a
it,
big red flag
it,
there.
I want to emphasize that 1099 or self-employment has a
yeah,
very, very strict definition per IRS, which is our tax federal agency, right? Majority of nurses, especially if you are an immigrant, will not qualify as a 1099 worker as a
mm-hmm,
nurse because there are main categories that prohibit employers to do that. Do some employers do that? Of course they do because they want to
yeah,
try to cut down money as much as I can. Imagine if I tell you, you know what, instead of paying you 100,000, I'm gonna offer you 110,000, right? But
mm-hmm,
you're gonna be 1099. Then I'm saving 15% automatically as an employer because I'm not paying those taxes. You are now responsible for your own taxes. But you cannot just classify nurses as 1099 because there are strict rules with what is classified as self-employed 1099 or full-time employee W2. You can ask IRS and you can tell them, hey, I want to know if my employer misclassified me as 1099. you are automatically a witness. And if IRS launch an investigation, you get a percentage for whatever they get, right? As a whistleblower. No, for real. Because that's misclassification. And that's tax fraud as well. That's a federal offense. But some employers still do it, right? Especially if you're a vulnerable person, like a new immigrant who know nothing about the
Mm-hmm.
American system. You cannot be a 1099 when you get here to the States. You need to be established with a full-time job that offers you benefits, retirement, health and medical insurance,
Mm-hmm.
at least some form of liability insurance, workers' compensation, and of course, for you to not pay so much taxes because you're doing 1099, you have to go W-2 first. But there are nurses who are doing 1099, travel nurses. Some of us do locums, PRNs, travel nursing. Some of them are 1099s. You just got to be aware before coming into a contract that 1099 may sound higher, all right? But is it
Yeah.
really higher? It all boils down to
Yeah.
what what is in your net income, right? In your paycheck when it comes in. Because you still have to pay all of those. And there's no deduction, K, right? Um, you can pay towards the end of the year when you file your taxes. So you might be getting more paycheck. Ooh, I'm making $5,000 more with my 1099. But when the tax man comes around and say, you haven't paid your
Mm-hmm.
15% self-employment taxes, we need you to pay it, right? And this is how we see people on Facebook complaining, oh my God, I'm owing the IRS $40,000, $50,000. Yes, because you are 1099. Nobody deducted anything from you. You are
Mm-hmm.
self-employed. You are employed by yourself. Your employer is yourself. You are responsible to deduct taxes yourself. Something like that. And we've seen this a lot in a lot of Facebook groups because they were not aware of what 1099 is. So in the end, was it really worth it? We do not know. Check your numbers.
So there is also a thing, Paul, called quarterly income tax
Mm-hmm.
You can do
remittance.
that as well.
Okay.
Yes.
So as a W-2 income, as an employee, what happens during taxes, right? So every time you get a paycheck, your employer is actually deducting income taxes from your paycheck. Okay. So like if, for example, I'm Paul's employer and Paul is my employee. Somebody's showing some video.
Hi, Robin.
Right. So for example, I'm Paul's employer. Paul, I'm gonna give you a salary every 2 weeks, okay, as a normal employee. And your salary should be $100, okay. But from that $100, we will have to tax you. Let's say 25%. Okay, Paul, I'm gonna take the
Mhm.
$25 from your paycheck, and you will see it in your income, in your paycheck or pay stub, saying there your FICA, your Social Security, and your federal and your state income. So
Mhm.
me as an employer, that $25, I will have to send it to the government. Okay, and there's a thing called quarterly remittance, or there can also be like a bi-weekly remittance. Okay,
Mhm.
depending on the size of my company. If I'm a very very big company who's generating so much revenue and income taxes, then I will have to remit it sometimes every week. Okay, but if I'm a small company, then I have to remit those income taxes like either monthly or quarterly. Okay, remittance, depending on the size of my company.
Mhm.
But I'm doing it automatically for you, Paul. You don't have to do it. Okay.
Right, right,
Mm-hmm.
But when you're a 1099, I don't do it. Okay.
right.
I'm the one who's giving your paycheck, which is full, no tax deduction. Now, Paul, you will have to pay this taxes to the government.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right, right.
Paul is not 25 anymore. You will have to give 50 because you will have to
Oh
pay double.
no.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Interest for
Right.
not paying
So,
taxes.
but what if you did not know that? Majority of our international nurses coming to the U.S. workforce don't know that, right? What will you do, Paul? I mean, you don't know. At the end of the year, you didn't give anything to the government. What do
Well,
you,
Right.
what do you think will
what we
happen there?
say, ignorance of law is not an excuse. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you're an adult, right? So they would expect you to know that. So taxes are taxes. There's no way around it. If you tell
Mm-hmm.
IRS, I'm sorry, I don't know, they're like, it's fine. Don't worry about it. We'll just give you interests and you'll pay it over time. And in fact, we're gonna auto deduct from your future salaries. It's called garnishing. So you don't have to worry about it. No, to cut it short, they will still ask for the taxes, okay, regardless.
Okay, they
Mm-hmm.
will get that money back, right? I mean, you have
Mm,
to pay that taxes. So
mm,
at the end of the year, when you file taxes before April 15, then you have to pay that. But you're not only paying the 25 taxes, Paul, because
eh,
now you're late. Your
yep,
income
interest.
went
Yeah.
beyond that limit that, according to Uncle Sam, that you should be remitting quarterly. Every
Mm-hmm.
quarter, which means every 3 months. Okay. If you
Mm-hmm.
don't do that, then you will have to pay taxes. I mean, a penalty on that interest.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a penalty that can be as high as 25% if you
Mm-hmm.
don't file this. 25% is very high,
Right.
right? So we're
Oh
talking
yes.
about, if you look at your federal taxes, just make an assumption that you might have to duplicate that money. Federal
Right. Right.
taxes is the highest amount of money that you deduct from your paycheck. And imagine paying that almost twice because you didn't know, right? So there is a penalty if you don't remit that. And number one, that's something's gonna hurt you. Number two is, again, the the health insurance that you're getting. If Are you getting your health insurance or not, right? If you did
Right.
not
Right.
get your
Right.
health insurance because your employer did not do it for you, what do you think will happen if you have an emergency? Paul, you're
Right.
an ER precision. I mean, a PL, nurse practitioner, provider. Do you have an idea how much it costs if a person enters an ER with, let's say, just say, I'm throwing up, I think I have gallbladder issues? Or maybe Anna, you can answer
Uh,
that.
I think just by triaging you already get billed $1,000 something for
Yes.
that, right? And then you
I
get
have
billed
one
according
in
to
December.
acuity, yep, and the acuity level, and then provider's fee, and then radiology fee, lab fee,
Mm.
and you're gonna pay for the
Ultrasound.
acuity level. Like if you're level three, I think
Yeah.
that's automatically $3,000 or $5,000,
Mm-hmm.
um, and that's not even everything. Yep, because I had abdominal pain the other like 2 3 years ago, and I went to the ER because I thought I have SBO, and I only paid 600 because that's my copay. I have insurance, right? But the total bill was like $15,000 something because I got meds, I got CT scan, and all that, and I was in the ER for like 4 hours to get all the scans done and all that. So 15,000. If you're self-employed,
Wow.
hello. This is where all the gross income that you were trying to get because it's more income for you. This is where it's gonna go now.
Yep.
The, yeah, right. So it's not, you think it's higher amount that you will receive on your paycheck, but actually it's hidden there that you might be spending way more because you just don't know that, right? So that's our W2 income versus 1099 income earner. So all immigrant nurses, please, when you arrive in the United States, you are all W2 income earner. If
Uh-huh.
your employer has given you a form called W9, okay, that's the one we discussed earlier, the picture that I show. If you are given a form called W9, again, any W9 that you see, it's not Cloud9. You have to, that's a red flag. All right.
Right, right.
So, all right. So now we're going to go over the next topic, which is called exempt versus non-exempt. All right. So these are the words that you see in your exempt versus non-exempt.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yep.
Paul,
But
Paul, you're,
just
you're exempt, right?
yes, I'm accept. So, but just be careful with W2 versus 1099. There's so much legal language or like tax information that you need to know. So don't sign 1099 until you actually, at least at the very least, know how much you're gonna get, right? So anyway,
Mm-hmm.
I want to share my screen. What is exempt versus exempt? I'm currently exempt as a nurse practitioner. This image is from QuickBooks, and I want to read it. Exempt basically
Mm-hmm.
receives a regular salary, right? So later I'm going to talk about another version of these: hourly versus salaried. Exempt basically is salaried, right? Payment depends on what hours you signed during your contract, and the earnings, of course, it depends on your job. So let's ignore that part in the image. But for example, with me, all right, I'm salaried right now. Before, when I was full-time nurse, I was non-exempt. As exempt, I'm contracted for 40 hours, and this is how much I make, right? It doesn't matter if I only work 30 hours, 34 hours, 32 hours, 36, because I only actually do 36 hours. The other 4 hours is what we call free time or administrative time to catch up with your charts, with
Mm-hmm.
your labs. But I don't do a lot of those because I finish job when I'm at the office, right? So the 4 hours is free time for me. So I'm technically getting paid 40 hours, working less hours. That's exempt, right? Now, depending on your employer, when you're exempt, if you go over your usual hours, they may not pay overtime because it's a contracted rate for your certain roles and responsibilities that you have, right? Or job description. But there are also employers, especially if you're working in the hospital, clinically, they can also pay you overtime. That, like with me, I'm contracted 40 hours, so that's 3 shifts a week. If they bring
Mm-hmm.
me into the clinic for another 4 weeks, then I still get my overtime, time and a half, regardless
Mm-hmm.
if I still have 4 hours that I haven't worked, because that 4 hours is already built into my contract. So any shift more than 3 days in a week is my overtime. So what I'm trying to say is, with exempt, it gets a little complicated because you're salaried, all right? Which means you make same amount every 2 weeks in your paycheck, or every month if that's your paycheck situation. Every 2 weeks here is most common in the US. So every 2 weeks you get the same amount, regardless of how much work you put in. But with me, I'm contracted 40 hours. To be honest with you, Kay, I don't, or Anna, I don't, I don't even do 40 hours of work, all right? Because
Mm-hmm.
working smart, not harder, right? But it doesn't mean that I'm not working, right? It's just
Mm-hmm.
I'm efficient with my time. I plan ahead. I go ahead, and I'm one step ahead with what I'm doing. That way, I'm not backed up. And sometimes I would need to bring charts at home, but very, very rarely. So in short, for me, it works for me because I can manage my time well, and yet I still get the same amount. It's not varying amount a week. All right. For non-exempt, this is the situation for for a lot of nurses. The other name is hourly. All right. You don't have a
Mm-hmm.
specific time that you're contracted for a week or for 2 weeks, but you still have to meet your contract if you're full time, part time, or per diem, right, or PRN. So, for example, full time, they require you to get at least 32 hours or 36 hours a week. You still need to make those, but you're gonna be paid by the hour. Majority of the time, non-exempt people make more money, because, like I said, some exempt people are not paid overtime. Not in my case, because I contracted my case to be paid, right? But for non-exempt, every hour that you work, all right, every hour that you work, you are paid. So, for example, you work 40 hours. For example, you work 40 hours, then you're paid for that. 45 hours, you came into the meeting for 2 hours, you get paid for that. You came in for 4 hours of education, you get paid for that. So
Mm-hmm.
this is how a lot of nurses make more, because they're putting more hours, right? Overtimes, so they can make more money. All right. So that's the thing with non-exempt. A lot of our nurses are non-exempt. All right. But there are specific job descriptions for nurses. We don't have to worry about that. Definitely, nurses pass the duties test or IRS definition for non-exempt employees.
Mm-hmm.
So you are paid by the hour, and that's what lead me to my next slide. So I just defined exempt versus non-exempt, but basically the other term that we use is hourly versus salary. So
Salary.
salary
Mm-hmm.
is exempt. Hourly is non-exempt. So if you hear these terms, you just have to know how you are paid. It's the structure of your pay. If you're
Mm-hmm.
hourly, majority of nurses are non-exempt or hourly. You get overtime pay, holiday pay. Depends on your contract. You can choose what days you want to work. Right? Not all of the work that we do have flexibility. Right? But You got to find those hospitals that offer that. The other thing is you get differential pays, critical pay. So with me, I had differential as an ER nurse before. I had critical pay, and then preceptor fee, stuff like that. Multipliers is what I call it. Charge nurse fee,
Mm-hmm.
bonuses, because sometimes they're like, oh, we're short by two nurses. If anyone would come in, $200. Nobody responds. $300. You know what I mean? Salary
Higher.
higher salaried people don't get that, right? Only
Yeah.
non-exempt or hourly people get that. So those are what I call multipliers, right? Kind of like
Mm-hmm.
times two, times three, something like that. The cons are lack of stability, of course, because you only get paid by the hour that you work. So
You are.
this gets
Mm-hmm.
a little nerve wracking and a little scary if you're doing part time in PRN because no work, no pay.
No
If
pay.
you're full time, you might be accumulating PTO, paid time off, which you can use, but paid time off is not unlimited, right? Pay losses. So, like I said, you don't work today, you got injured, and it's not work related where they're not going to cover you, and you don't have disability insurance, then you lose pay because no work, no pay. And um, fewer benefits, I think that's pretty debatable because with nursing, the benefits are also one of the things that employers highlight when they try to hire you because they know benefits are very competitive, right? But that's one thing you need to remember for hourly. For salaried exempt, the pros are, like I said, stability. Some people like stability. You get regular paycheck every 2 weeks because you're paid certain contract, you're salaried, it doesn't change. All right. You have paid time offs, but even hourly can have that. And you get benefits as well. But even hourly can have that. The hourly is a gross term because you can be hourly but full time, right? So full time, you still get benefits, you still get paid time off. But you can be hourly and PRN or as needed staff. That's when benefits and paid time off becomes a problem because you don't get those. Anna will talk about that in a bit. And
Mm-hmm.
the problem with salary, depending on your contract structure, a lot of these jobs don't pay overtime because they already expect that what you do is part of your job description, which you are being paid per job description. Are you a nurse manager? You're paid this much. All right. That's how much you're paid. It doesn't matter if you work from home 2 hours, extra 2 hours to do your schedules or to call additional staff member at 8 p.m. when your job is done at 5 p.m. That's part of your job description, right? You're not being paid by the hour, right? But like I said, with me, there's a built-in um, what's this? Um, for me, it's part of my contract. I have a built-in terms where if I come in extra to cover clinics for providers that are on PTO, then for me, I still get overtime. So with me, it all boils down to what you negotiate with. That's why it's very important to know the details of your contract. With me, I made sure that I asked them about that, and the first time they asked me to come into the clinic to the X for extra day, I asked them, "Is this part of my salary, or am I gonna get overtime time and a half?" They said, "You're gonna get overtime time and a half," and I'm like, "Okay, sign me up. Where do I sign up?" I'm just kidding, but a lot of nurses like to do, but that's extra money. But like I said, a lot of salaried K and Anna don't get paid extra, so that's one of the cons. And of course, less autonomy because you're expected to be on 8 to 5 if you're doing Monday to Friday type of job. So you may not be in the office, but if your boss calls you at 3 p.m., you got to pick up, right? And the good thing with usually with salary is fixed schedule. So like I said, these are the eight
Mm-hmm.
to five Monday to Friday jobs, no holidays, no nothing like that. But then again, sometimes those fixed schedules can be prohibitive, right? What if you
Mm-hmm.
want to take off something like that? So some nurses prefer to do their 3 days because they have 4 extra days with their families. So the 8 to 5, Monday to Friday, 5 days a week at work may not work for nurses because we're not used to it, right? So anyway, those are just the definitions between exempt, non-exempt, or salaried, which is exempt, and hourly versus non-exempt. But Anna will talk about the next part, which is basically full-time, part-time, and PRN, because this is where it gets crazy with the hourly pay. All right. I'll pass the
Okay.
baton to Anna.
Give it to me, Purple. Okay, everyone. So I am being asked to talk about the difference between full-time job or a PRN job. So when I arrived 9 years ago in my contract, it said it was stated I'll be working full-time job and I'm not allowed yet to have any other job. So for now, let's talk about full-time job. What is a full-time job? Meaning, you might be working 36 hours, 312, or 40 hours, 8, 8 hours, 5 days. So what are the benefits of the working full-time versus PRN? PRN, when I claim here, I said, what is PRN? Is that the medication as needed? No, those are per diem job. So PRN job offers more flexibility in terms of different things. So I have my notes here. Okay, so full-time nurse, full-time job, 46 hours or 40 hours. Number one, you will have a job security. Okay, think of it as a cozy blanket on a cold night, steady and reassuring when you're a full-time job. So when you arrive or wherever country you came from, please make sure that in your contract you are going to work as a full-time, not on call, not PRN. Okay, because you need that job security, that job income stability, especially when you're starting in USA. Number two, the benefits. Okay, like winning the lottery every month, you have health insurance, you have retirement plans, and paid vacation. Make sure that those are also stipulated or written in your contract. And number three, consistency. When you are newly arrived nurse, you want to start it slow and steady, and you want to go it consistent, not just for the income, but also for your schedule. Are you working nights, days, evenings? Do you need to work weekends, or do you have to take calls? Number four, professional growth. When you work full time, a lot of hospital or other facility like nursing home will offer a free health education in terms of annual paid module learning, and they have like BLS, they offer free ACLS. And number five, team integration. You will have friends when you work full time. You're gonna have a work family, as what others call it. It's like being part of a tight knit sports team. Everyone knows their role and works together. So, what are the cons of being a full time? Well, aside the opposite of being secured, rigidity, meaning feels like you're stuck, like you have to complete or comply to work for those hours, 46 hours, 40 hours, in the same loop, same hour, same place every day. It's like eating your favorite pancit every day or lumpia every party. Number two, working as a full time, it will cause burnout, because like running a marathon every day without break. Okay, here we go again. Okay, med pass or scrubbing in or labor and delivery time. Number three, you cannot avoid this. Politics. Yes, there is politics when you work full time. That's why other nurses left and became a traveler nurse, right? Dr. Nurse Paul and Clay. One reason of leaving being full time is politics. Sometimes it's like high school drama. I know we're all grown up, we're all professional, but still we act out. So those are I lost my notes. Sometimes yeah, like drama all over again, navigating the cliques and conflicts. Number four, the cons of working as a full time is less variety. Working in the same place can feel like eating your favorite meal every day, like what I said earlier. Delicious at first, but later on you get tired of it. So I used to work full time OR nurse, and then I switched to traveling nurse for 5 years, and I'm not gonna lie, I miss traveling not just for the money, but the variety, new people, new place, new learning. So let's move over to PRN or per diem job. So what is per diem job? Opposite of full time. You can only work whenever you like it, whenever you feel like it, when you want to earn extra. So right now, I am no longer traveling. I work full time in a level 2 trauma, and I also work per diem in my 5 minutes neighbor hospital. And that hospital is a small community hospital. So I only work whenever I feel like it. Or the manager, hey Anna, you wanna do breaks? You wanna do lunch? I work in the OR. And like what I said, just whenever I feel like it. So number one, flexibility. I love flexibility. I can work 7 to 3 a.m., 9 to 5, or 11 to 7. Or sometimes I can only come in for 2 hours. Number two, variety. Since I work full time in a level 2 trauma, all the cases that I've been doing was all about trauma, not the elective one. So working in a per diem small community hospital, still I get the chance to scrub in elective cases. And of course, higher pay. Why? Because you're not getting any benefits. No health insurance, no retirement. So that's why are getting higher benefits. Number four, I find it to have a work-life balance when you work per diem because, like what I said, you only work whenever you like it and you feel like I in extra hours or on call. Number five, learning opportunities. Like what I said, from level 2 trauma, full time, and my per diem is only a small community. I still get to learn small places. And you meet other people too. So what are the consequences of being a per diem? Very obvious. Lack of benefits because you're not getting health insurance, sick time, or paid time off, unlike when you work as a full time. Inconsistent income. Please, nurses, when you are an immigrant, do not say yes. When you see in a contract, you're gonna be on call or you're gonna work per diem. No, when you're starting your life here, you need a constant income. PRN will not help you. But Mom Anna, they're paying more when you're PRN. Yes, but remember, you can be canceled anytime. Like the other day, hey Anna, we have enough stock, so you don't have to come in. So if you are relying on the income, it's not good. Per diem is only for additional income. For example, I love concerts. So whenever I plan to see a concert, I work for my per diem job. So inconsistent income, not good for a newly arrived nurses. Limited job security. Like what I said, you can be cancelled anytime because they will favor their full-time nurses first over you per diem. And challenges because you're not always in the hospital. You might be missing a new equipment, a new in service. So sometimes they only put me in a case that I'm used to. Fewer advancement opportunity. Like playing a game on easy mode, less chance to level up quickly. So these are my thoughts and my information about full time and per diem. It's nice to have both when I'm on vacation on my full-time job, since my per diem is 5 minutes away from me, I usually go there just to make friends with my coworker and to earn extra. How about you, for Paul and Clay? Do you still work per diem? Oh, for Paul might not be.
Yeah, I did. Yes,
Until
I did.
now?
Yeah. No, no, not right now.
Not
I
anymore.
don't know. I'm thinking about doing PRN for ER just to brush up my skills,
Mm-hmm.
but busy with so many things. But when I was doing ER nursing, I definitely have PRN because, like I said, that's extra money. Sometimes you're like, I'm not gonna do anything right now, or you know what, my trip
True.
was canceled, or you know what, I have an
Mm-hmm.
extra time, and this extra time could be extra money. So let me work on this. Or if I want to, like you said, go on a trip, I want to I want to
Mm-hmm.
buy something. I was like, it will not touch my savings if I do
Yeah.
pick up a PRN right now. So, but like you said, do not make that as your only source of income. All right,
Mm-hmm.
because PRN is as needed. If they don't need you because the season is low, like for example, as
Mm-hmm.
ER, if it's summer, it's a slow season, right? Because there's not a lot of flu or COVID or RSVs or respiratory illnesses that get them pneumonia. So there's not a lot of people depending on where you're working. So they might not need PRN. They might say,
Mm-hmm.
you know what, we don't need anyone to come in right now, PRN, for this two in the next 2 to 4 weeks. So then you don't have income because you're as needed. You're the first one to.
Cool.
But when they send people home or cancel schedule, they go by highest paid first. So travel
Mm-hmm.
nurse first, then internal contracts next, then PRN next, then part timers and full timers. So full times always get the priority because like they're full time, and then part time, full time, part time are almost similar.
Yeah.
It's just a
Mm-hmm.
difference in hours, right? So something like that, and then they can mix up
And
the concepts now: W2 full time, W2
yes.
part time, W2 PRN, 1099 PRN. Okay.
Yeah, I missed that part. Yeah. How about you, Clay?
So I would say it depends on the dynamics of the household. For me,
Mm-hmm.
if an international nurse would come here in the United States, and he or she has no other choice but, of course, to become a full time employee with full benefits. Okay, with full benefits. If that person would come with a spouse or a dependent that can work, okay, do they need a double full-time job? This is where I say this is you strategize. You don't need
Mm-hmm.
double. Okay, you don't. If that person, if the primary employee, which is your spouse, who came here with a contract that's saying that they have benefits from employer and it's a good benefit, I don't recommend the other
Yeah.
spouse to be getting a full-time job, because when you apply for a full-time job, your salary goes down to compensate
Mm-hmm.
for those benefits that you will receive. But the question
Mm-hmm.
is, do you need those benefits? If the answer is no, because my husband carries it or my wife carries it,
Mm-hmm.
then I don't recommend that other partner to be working as a full-time with full
Mm-hmm.
benefits. Okay, this is where you come in. Either you can be a PRN, okay,
Or
because PRN salaries are higher than regular staff because they're not receiving any health benefits or any benefits at all that the hospital's providing. But I do heard some PRN are getting, if you're an internal pool PRN, they have some benefits as well. Okay, the alternative right now, this is kind of new for the past few years. They call it internal travelers. Okay,
mm-hmm.
so again, if you're a staff, I mean, if you're the spouse of a person of that nurse who was recently sponsored, and you're a nurse yourself, but you have the flexibility to choose any other employer in that location because you're not under contract compared to your spouse. So there is a thing that you want to explore called internal travelers. And who are they? So internal travelers is not similar, it's kind of similar to per diem. Per diem is a day-to-day basis. An
Mm-hmm.
internal traveler is like a traveling nurse, but just you're local, you just stay in that area. And internal traveling means that your that hospital will need you, like, oh, we need you in 8 weeks, we need you in
Mm-hmm.
3 months, we need you for 12 weeks because somebody just took a maternity off or somebody went
Mm-hmm.
an unexpected sick leave or disability leave. We need somebody to come in here on that time being to patch up our scheduling or staffing to cover for that only for 8 weeks. Okay, so again, per diem versus internal travel. Per diem, well, you don't know, you have to go day by day, but as an internal travel, you will have a feeling of what your schedule will be
Mm-hmm.
like on the next three
Mm-hmm.
months or 2 months. Okay, so that's the two difference there. And both PRN, internal traveler, might or might not be receiving benefits, but your income
Mm-hmm.
is way more than a permanent staff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's a thing. Also, I'd like to mention, if you're going to be PRN for the whole year, the best way to strategize there is do not just sign up for one PRN job.
Yeah.
Okay, you it's like me being a sale having a store, right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
selling coffee. I'm not getting my sugar supply from one vendor only, okay? Because if that vendor, their truck breaks down, then what? I might not be able to serve or sell. I don't have income, right? So, as an investor, we always say, do not put all your
One.
eggs in one basket, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So, if this income for you is very important, and you already set your day, it's like, and every week I should be receiving at least three per diem income, so I don't recommend you sticking with one employer. You can sign up for as much as five employers,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Sign up for five employers who will do per diem. And then if one cancels, then you still have a backup. Okay, you always
Yep.
have a backup. So again, job security for per diem is not there, but if you strategize to put more employers on your pool of employers, then that can be doable. As for me, as a traveler, people thought like, oh, traveling for 17 years, that's crazy. You
Right.
might, you don't have job security. I said, who said that I only have one employer agency? I
Yep.
had listed myself to 40 companies. And that's because I prioritize job security and higher income. You can mitigate the risks of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So hope you guys learned something in here. We can
Yeah.
go for a question
Yeah.
and answer, right?
So
I,
I just want to share since you mentioned about couple nurses. So since as we know, my husband is also a nurse. Now I am go full time. I am no longer traveling. All the benefits comes from me. I send him to travel. I send him to travel. It works well. So but now I'm having a hard time with the vacation time. I like when I was a traveler, after 3 months I'll be off. But like what Clay said, when you're a couple, it will help you a lot to strategize one for full time and the other one for VM or traveling gig. So, yep.
Yeah.
right. So it's different when you're single because the only
Yes,
earner in your family is you. So
you.
so yeah, you gotta manage your time well. It's good if you're double nurse, double earner. I think that
Mm-hmm.
works well, even if you live in high cost of living areas.
True.
Like I said before, salary is always um, uh, dependent on you personally, like depending on your personal situation.
True.
Are you single? Are you married? If you're single, there are ways to lower your taxes or stuff like that, or still get um, good earning jobs that can suffice with you as the only earning person, right? That way, when you're sick, you still have extra savings. When you're married, and especially if you're two nurses, that's two nursing income going into the table, right? So that adds more flexibility as far as money, as far as paychecks coming in, and one person could
Mm-hmm.
do. I've seen that a lot, like what Anna's doing. One person is full time, getting all the full time benefits.
Mm-hmm.
One person is doing the PRN because PRN pays more, or 1099 pays
Mm-hmm.
more. Now it makes more sense because you don't have to worry about your health insurance or disability insurance or stuff like that, because your spouse, which has full time benefits, has that. So
Mm-hmm.
it all boils down to your personal situation. And then again, it's good to listen to podcasts or stories like what we hear here in our podcast, but always analyze your individual situation, do your own research, right? Because the only person who actually know your financial state, what type of
You.
salary you need, how much you need to earn, how much you need to save, what types of job do you want to do, like is it PRN that offers more flexibility, or you cannot have flexibility because you have to have a stable job like a W2 or exempt. It all boils down to you. So do your own research, gather all the information that you learn from websites, blogs, from seminars that you go to, but ultimately you get to decide on that.
Mm-hmm.
Find a job that works for you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like that.
But just want to point this out before we wrap up. If you are coming here with a spouse that is able to work and you're being sponsored by your employer and you're under contract, okay, you should be your spouse should be following your contract, your schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, don't pick up. I mean, don't sign up a contract, and then when your spouse come in here, then you will call off from your work because you're gonna say to
Mm-hmm.
your boss, "Hey, I cannot come to work today because my spouse just got a job, and
Mm-hmm.
I cannot be there." No, you came here as a sponsored employee. You promise your employer that you're going to work for them full time. The benefit of the employer was to bring your spouse here. That's a benefit. But your spouse is not the reason why you're here in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Your schedule and your loyalty with your schedule should be with your employer who sponsored you. Okay, because I've been hearing a lot of issues of nurses kind of like being on the breach of contract because they're not
Mhm.
showing up for work. And what the reason is, because the employer will say, well, she always calls out because there's no one left for the child, for the kid at home,
Mm-hmm.
because the spouse started working already. Okay, so when
Mm-hmm.
you have that situation, this is against you. All right, so again, if I'm the contract person and Paul is my spouse, okay, let's just say, although I know Paul, I'm not Paul's type, but let's just for it today. so, so I would say, honey, find a job because my salary as an immigrant nurse, it's not enough. I'm only
It's
earning
not enough.
$30 an hour. We have two kids. You need to find a
And we're in
job.
New York.
Okay, I said, honey, can you go somewhere else to work? Okay, now Paul pick up a job somewhere else. And now his boss is, or his new job is kind of demanding too. Like, hey, Paul, can you do extended hour? Okay. For me, as the sponsored nurse, that cannot be an excuse for me to call out if Paul is not
Sure.
available. Okay. Because
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Paul was a benefit for me to bring my family, but Paul is not the priority here. The priority that should be adhering to the schedule is me because I'm the contracted nurse. Okay.
Alright.
Paul, before he picks a job, he should be checking the flexibility of job. Okay. So
Mhm.
if I have a Monday to Friday work, Paul can definitely work weekends. But if I have on calls, then that be a problem to Paul if Paul will work night
Mhm.
shift. Okay.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Paul, if there is a person between me and Paul who should call out first, it should be him. Because
Mm-hmm.
even if he, ends that job, he's not going to be under any contract. He's a free agent.
Sure.
But me, if I
Mm-hmm.
call out and I break my contract, that is a big damage, to us, to our family. Financial damage for breach of contract. All right. So
Mm-hmm.
always remember that because I hear a lot of Filipino nurses
Wow,
coming
what
to me that
new?
hey, I'm being in trouble because I call out because nobody's gonna stay at home with the child. The thing is, you are under contract. Your spouse should work around your schedule. If your spouse
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
cannot find a job that can work around your schedule, then your spouse should not be working. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
If they find a flexible job, then that's what they should be doing because the priority is you. You have a contract and you should be the priority. Okay?
Correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
sharing
Any more
that.
And
Yeah.
questions?
so
Yeah.
I think that's a very informative. A lot of nurses forget that the reason why they came here because they were being hired by the agency. And I heard that too. One I think I received an email about that, and I reminded them who signed the contract. Ma'am Anna, me. Okay, so you will be the one to work. So I would like to share again, when we arrived 9 years ago, I was the one who signed the contract. So I'm the one who works. And when Ryan asked his NCLEX, he looked for a job that will accommodate our schedule. He worked night, I work days. And you're right, okay, he calls out. I got called out because I want to finish my contract early. So that's how it works. Please, couple nurses, be reminded, or couple immigrants coming to the US, honor your contract. You will want to pay that breach of contract because of calling out.
All right, thank you. Any questions in the chat? I don't see any question. It looks like, we've delivered very good. We have a very good NCLEX instructor here.
Yeah.
It says thank you so much from her minute. Thank you so much, Dr. Paul, Ma'am Anna, and Ma'am Kay for these informative ideas.
I want to say hi for Marvin. Hello for
Hi,
Marvin.
Marvin. Thank you for joining us
Hi.
today. Jorly was joining us from Qatar. JM is joining us
Jay.
from Kuwait. Cheeto says, hi, Anna.
Classmate.
And Karen was
Classmate
joining
for
us
me.
from Rwanda.
Uh,
Oh, for a master's degree. Nice, nice.
mm.
But
I
anyway,
think everyone clear about the difference between W2 and the 1099, the exempt and non-exempt. Those are very
yes.
helpful because when I came in 9 years ago, what is W2, what is 1099, am I exempt
Hmm.
or not? Those are
Right.
very helpful, especially the PRN, like what I said earlier. I thought it was a medication schedule as needed. I didn't know that a PRN means early job.
Yeah.
Right.
So those are very helpful topics.
Yeah.
I enjoy it
Yeah.
today.
Yeah. I
You're
would just
right.
say that all nurses who are being sponsored to come to the United States, you are all W2. Okay. There's no
Right.
Mm-hmm.
excuse there.
Yeah.
Should be.
Again,
Yep.
all
Hmm.
nurses coming to the United States that's being sponsored, there is no reason you should be 1099. You are
Yep.
automatically and should be W2 income earner. You should be non-exempt. Okay, non-exempt hourly paid. Again,
Hmm.
all international nurses coming to the United States sponsored under EB3 H1B visa, if you're going to be a frontline worker, you are definitely going to be a W2 income. No other than that, you're not 1099, okay? If a lot of traveling nurses are saying they're 1099, there is a lawsuit also against that. It's called
Mm-hmm.
misclassification because frontline nurses, you don't have the sole decision to carry out orders. You have to
Mm-hmm.
depend on someone, and that someone is called a doctor, okay?
Mm-hmm.
You have to depend on a doctor to give you an order and then you carry out. Unless you're a person who will do that order, you're called advanced nurse practitioner. Okay?
Hmm.
Advanced nurse practitioner, they don't need doctor to tell them what to do. But for bedside nurses, frontline nurses, you are actually carrying out somebody's order.
Mm-hmm.
So
Hmm.
you do not fall under 1099. All right. So that's
Right.
the IRS definition there. So please, if somebody's telling you as a frontline worker, or you are the one who's carrying out the physician's order, you're not eligible, or you're not licensed to put an order for other people to carry out, then you might be in a situation called misclassification. Okay, so again, all international nurses W2. Don't ask us about 1099.
Right. Please don't
Yeah.
say
No,
Yeah.
just kidding. You
1099.
can ask us, but if you hear 1099 upon arrival, it's a red
Red
flag.
Red
flag.
flag.
Contact
Red
Red
us.
flag.
Okay.
flag.
All
Red
right.
flag.
So
Here we go again with
they
the red flags and laughing,
yeah,
and somebody's
yeah
gonna tell
okay,
me, like,
W2
you're laughing
and
at them.
so always remember W2 and non-exempt. Me, I'm
Yep.
exempt. I'm working more than 40 hours a week. I'm working 60 hours a week now
Oh,
because I'm
welcome to the exempt
Oh.
club, Kay.
yeah,
I
because
think
I'm
we're Kay. I think we're maturing because now from non-exempt,
I don't know if I'm gonna
Ooh.
call
travel,
it maturing.
locals. I'm just
And
kidding.
also, FYI, not all your managers are being paid more than you, okay? Because
Mhm.
managers are exempt. If they
No,
are
no
on call
overtime.
at their house,
Mm-hmm.
some nurses, some senior nurses who is actually receiving hourly charge roll, hourly
Mm-hmm.
differential, right? They might
Weekend
weekend
differential.
overtime,
Yeah.
you might see them getting paid on your manager. Okay. So don't
Yeah.
think like, oh, my manager should do this because oh they're getting paid. Well, that's not the case for all of the,
They're
nurse
paid
manager,
yeah,
assistant
administer,
nurse
but not.
manager. Most
No.
likely, if you're a senior nurse or you're doing a lot of overtime, you're gonna paid more than your manager. So please never
That's the
always
truth,
think.
though.
Yeah, that's the truth, and that's why we have a
Yeah.
shortage of a lot of
I
frontline
used to
leaders.
make more
Okay.
than my manager, which is my friend. We compare, but she just
Yeah.
likes the flexibility because she has a
Yeah.
son. Like
Yeah.
as a manager,
Mm-hmm.
she could leave for
Yeah.
like 1 hour and still be at work
Yeah.
because she can
Yeah.
work on the phone, pick up her son, something like that. That's all
Yeah.
she likes. But in terms of hourly, I
Yeah.
was making more
Same.
because I was pick
Yeah.
up
Mm-hmm.
extra shifts, something like
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
be respectful of each role. All of us has
Yes,
roles to play.
exactly.
That's one thing I don't like about nursing, though. Okay, sometimes it's I'm not saying I don't like nursing. That's just one thing I don't like. Very
Mm-hmm.
petty. Like just respect. If they want to be managers and that's their job that they want, you don't
Yeah,
have to rub it on their faces. I'm making more than you. Well, then that's just how it is. People make choices based on their individual
yeah,
needs, right?
Yeah.
So let's
yeah.
be
So
Like
respectful.
maturity, like what you said. Oh, maturity. You're mature.
Yeah.
Yes,
I don't know
yeah.
why
So
people
again,
have to
yeah,
always
the
fight
majority
about
of our managers are exempt. Okay, majority of the frontline nurses are non-exempt. So
that.
that's a
Okay,
big
I
difference.
will
Okay.
be nice to my manager now.
Yeah,
Okay,
be
I'm
nice to your
Mhm.
managers. Yes, be nice. I mean,
Anna is the only non-exempt here because
yeah,
I'm
we're
not
now
gonna
two.
go there. I'm not gonna complain why my
yeah.
vacation was denied.
But,
Yeah. Well,
it's
with me, as long as my managers are reasonable, and majority of my managers that I've worked with are very
yeah,
reasonable. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
always like try to understand on the other side of things. Maybe there's a reason.
yeah,
Maybe I ask for vacation time too soon. Maybe if I do
Mm-hmm.
2 months, 3 months in advance, maybe there would be chance. Or sometimes I help them out. Like, I need PTOs on these days, but you know what? You're not gonna have to worry because I found coverage.
Yes,
yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm gonna tell
yeah,
you right now, 100% that PTO will be approved because all they're
yep.
concerned about is who's gonna cover you. That way, nobody's gonna be angry at them that you're
yeah,
short, right? So,
yeah.
but
Mm-hmm.
if I found coverage, I did your job. You're good.
Yep,
All you gotta do is approve my PTO and put them on the schedule.
yep. You're right. So,
What a good talk. Any
yes,
any
yes.
last words?
Oh, any last word? Yes, if your hospital or employer is telling you that you have to do all these modules at home that you need to, that is very important.
Should
You
be
get
paid.
paid. You get
Should be
paid
paid.
as a non.
Hourly, right? Pay
Yes,
hourly.
correct. As a
Or
non-exempt, if they give you module, okay, again,
uh,
your manager tells you, hey, you have to do this module at home. You're due for this module. You have to do this
not
at
at
home.
home.
Okay, so yes, you can do it at home, Paul, if it's an
As long
online
as they
module,
pay. Yeah.
but you have to write down the time. I started at
Mhm.
10 a.m. and I finish at 11 a.m. Then you submit that time to your manager, okay,
Mhm.
because those are called paid work, okay, paid
Orientation.
Right,
training,
Yep.
right,
okay, paid
right,
training.
right.
If they're mandating you to do work and that is related to your work, and you're doing it after you're finish your already your 40 hours, or not even not finishing your 40 hours, as long as you're doing it, you're putting time work, then that should be a paid if you're doing it at home. For
Right.
managers, if we do it at home, for your leadership, for your directors, if we do it at home, that's not paid. That's a big
Thank
difference.
you. Thank
That's
you.
not paid. That's not paid.
Yeah.
Managers, nursing directors, assistant nurse,
Me too, Kay, because I'm
manager.
exempt.
Yeah,
I'm not paying for
our
the
CR and
extra
ER,
modules.
our nurse practitioners, they don't get paid if they have to do modules at home. But if you are a W2 income that is not exempt, then you get paid those modules. Please write down your time, submit it to your manager. This is the module I did. This is the date and time I did it, and I put 2 hours to it, and you should be paid. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
that's our last word there before we forget about that. All right. So, any last
Anna,
words?
Anna,
My last word would be remember that achieving your American dream doesn't stop when you pass your NCLEX and when you have got visa on your hand. Achieving your American dream meaning you have a lot of things to learn. Your IRS, your access, your benefits, your right as an immigrant. Please don't stop to learn. Do not rely on other people before you advocate for your patient, advocate for your health earth, to create the life you want. And have a good Sunday.
and that is why they
Yeah.
have to follow DNP Unlocked podcast
Yeah.
in Apple Music or Apple Podcasts,
Mm-hmm.
Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube podcasts, because they're going to learn a lot from everything that we've talked about. For me, my last word is know your individual personal situation. And remember that gross pay is not everything. What's important is what remains in
Take
your
home.
paycheck when everything has been deducted, because that's where your
Mm-hmm.
budget will start. Do not
Mm-hmm.
be how do you say that, enticed, because oh my god, I'm making 100,000 and they're offering me
Yeah.
120,000. um Maybe that 120,000 is not worth it because towards the end the taxes, because it's 1099, you're gonna be left with less, right? So anyway, that's where Our next topic next week will lead to, we're going to talk about how to compute your paycheck. We've already talked about this
Ooh, I
quite a
like
few times
that.
in the past, but this time we're going to
Yeah.
go into details. What are the tips and strategies? How do we compute our paycheck? What do we use as a resource to compute our paycheck? We're going to
Mm-hmm.
talk about that. So the next week, DNP Unlocked, it's going to be same time, 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. Episode 39 will be about computing
Wow.
your paycheck. And for the last week of the month, July 28th, we're going to talk about
Mm-hmm.
reporting labor issues. Very, very important.
Oh, the red flag. I'm gonna bring red flag on July
Yeah,
28th.
we all should have red flags and we erase it every time there's a red flag.
Yes, yes, that will be fun.
All right. Anyway,
Okay,
thanks
have
to
a
all
great
our viewers.
Sunday.
Thank you, Anna. Kay, have a great weekend.
Thank you
Thank you,
Bye,
all.
everyone.
Have
everyone.
a nice weekend and stay cool. It's very hot in America today, this week.
I'm a
All
Taylor
right.
Swift on all. How about you?
Okay.
Bye,
No,
Bye.
I'm like
everyone.
this. I'm Snoopy. There you go. Bye bye.
Bye.